Today, we're going to explore the ethical issues that have come to fruition as a result of technology enabling automation in the workplace. In virtually every single industry, advances in technology have allowed for automation of processes and taken jobs from humans and given them to machines. You can see this short list highlights just a few of the countless examples we see in everyday life. ATMs have started replacing bank tellers. Machines have started to replace toll booth and parking lot attendants. Massive robots replace laborers throughout the manufacturing industry. Self-serve kiosks are starting to pop up in grocery stores to displace cashiers. Computers have started answering people's questions when they call customer service numbers, and travel agents have essentially been rendered obsolete. Airlines have started implementing kiosks where passengers can print boarding passes, change seats, and check their own bags, all without ever speaking to a real person. So, why are companies moving towards automation? Well, machines are easier and less expensive to manage than people. Machines don't call in sick, they don't require breaks, they don't ask for a raise, they don't ask for health and retirement benefits. They can do things faster and with more precision than humans, and their employment's not governed by complex labor laws. Clearly, all the aforementioned attributes of machines are very attractive to business owners and managers alike. Machines create a more efficient business environment while increasing output and controlling costs. This obviously adds to profitability, which is a major incentive to increase automation whenever possible. And while this all sounds great, implementation of automation in the workplace is really a double-edged sword. We've briefly touched on some of the positives of automation, but what about the negatives? Look no further than asking yourself a simple question. How would you like to lose your job to a machine or robot? Or more importantly, what would you do if that happened to you? Do you have the skill set to break into a completely different line of work? Would your resume hold up against people you are going to compete with in the open labor market if that happened? For most people at risk of losing their jobs to automation, the answer is most probably no. So that brings up an important question. Is it morally justifiable to displace humans for machines in the name of higher efficiency and higher profits? There are virtually endless scholarly opinions on this article, but the general consensus is that we're rapidly moving towards more and more automation of jobs. The major disagreements come in predicting what the impacts of that automation will be. With the following are some of the notable quotes and excerpts that highlight the issue. Advances in information technology will continue to move towards automation of more and more middle class jobs, and fewer people will be able to find work. Intelligent machines will increasingly displace many workers, but they believe work will eventually shift to new jobs that technology creates. Workers will be displaced, but not replaced. Software substitution, whether it's for drivers or waiters or nurses, it's progressing. Technology over time will reduce demand for jobs, particularly at the lower end of skill sets. 20 years from now, labor demand for lots of skill sets will be substantially lower. I don't think people have that in their mental model. We've seen from some of the brilliant minds of the world that automation is here to stay, and there's no arguing that. The real debate is with respect to what the lasting impact of automation will be on the future. As you can see in the graph on the left, over the last 5 years, automation has really started to pick up, and it's expected to grow exponentially over the next 5 years. It's because of this projection that there becomes a serious need to explore automation and its impacts on replacing human capital. To take a look at the current impact of automation, we can slice the labor market into three different skill segments. High skill, high wage jobs where opportunities have significantly expanded, with the earnings of the college educated workers needed to fill such jobs rising steadily over the past 30 years. Low skill, low wage jobs, which have also been expanding, while their wage growth, particularly since 2000, has been flat to negative. And mid-skill, mid-wage jobs, which have been declining, while their wage growth has also declined over the years, especially since 2000. So as you can see, the mid-skill, mid-wage sector has been most impacted by automation. The reason for the large negative impact on this particular group is that these jobs are relatively routine in nature. And that brings us to explore why some jobs are more susceptible to automation than others. Before we can explore some possible safeguards or solutions to the issue of machines taking jobs from humans, it's important to first understand why some jobs are susceptible to automation and some are a lot less susceptible. MIT economist David Autor delves into that very issue, and he divides jobs into two distinct categories: routine task jobs and non routine task jobs. We start first on the left side of the slide with routine tasks. Autor basically states that because the core tasks of these occupations follow precise and well understood procedures, they're increasingly codified in computer software and performed by machines. This force has led to a substantial decline in employment in clerical, administrative support, and to a lesser degree, production and operative employment. Then we have our non routine task jobs. These are low and high skill activities and generally non routine in nature. Low skill activities tend to be manual tasks that can't be described by a set of rules that a machine can follow. High skill activities require expert problem solving or other cognitive human activities for which there are really no rule based solutions. And so now that we understand exactly who's at risk and why, we can begin to brainstorm how to save the mid skilled worker from mass unemployment. But before we do, I thought we'd touch on a few real life examples of what happens to an industry when automation is implemented, and then we can explore another industry that might see rapid change in the future. We can first look to the past and focus on manufacturing industry and the real events that occurred not too long ago. First, people were replaced by machines and they lost their jobs. They then require welfare until they can find new jobs. But where does the welfare come from? Well, it comes from taxpayers. But do people who are receiving welfare pay taxes? Obviously, they don't. So, what happens when you have a large amount of people on welfare due to automation and no one can pay taxes? Well, this example was a reality in Detroit, and the government was on the brink of shutting down because of this exact issue. So, this can really illustrate the power that automation can have. Not only does it impact individuals, but it impacts entire communities and even governments. Now we can look into the future and speculate a little bit. Another industry automation is poised to have a major impact on is the transportation sector. Specifically, the impact of machine operated modes of transportation has been another hot topic debated amongst economists. We've already seen some successes with Google's self-operated car, but imagine the endless opportunities this technology will have if and when it's perfected. What happens to the thousands of truck drivers when we have self-driving trucks? Or the thousands of airline pilots when planes can fly themselves? Many brilliant minds believe these ideas, which seem so far-fetched, will be a reality within just 1 to 2 decades. So now, what do we do? So up to this point, we've identified our ethical issue, which focused on whether or not it's morally justifiable to displace humans for machines in the name of efficiency and higher profits. We've covered some of the countless positives and negatives that arise with automation, We've talked about the current landscape of automation today and the profound impact it's having on mid-skill level occupations. And finally, we've covered some past examples of automation and the impacts it can have not only on workers, but on communities and governments. I think it's safe to say that automation is not going anywhere. So, what are the possible solutions to the serious issues that arise out of machines replacing humans in the workplace? Well, one place to turn is the government. The government can create policy that incentivizes corporations to hire people rather than implement machines. Those incentives can come in the form of elimination of payroll taxes or offering credits for increasing payroll every year. The second thing we can do is educate the public. We first need to educate people on the impacts of automation and then create and implement programs that allow individuals to gain skills in areas that will see economic growth in the future. We could even take that one step further and create programs for people who are replaced by machines, like those laborers in Detroit, and allow for retraining in other growing business sectors. So this brings us full circle and back to our big question. Is it morally justifiable to replace humans with machines in the name of efficiency and higher profits? My personal opinion is that we should not be replacing people. We should be displacing them and training them for better, more promising jobs. If we can get the right education framework in place and a little bit of help from the government, I believe that is exactly what will happen in the future.